Welcome to the Astrological Weather Report, Eclipse Season Edition 2022, Part 2. My name is Daniel Fiverson. Today, we're going to look at the total Scorpio lunar eclipse that occurs on May 16th, 2022. I want to begin with a rhetorical question. How is it that at a solar eclipse, the shadow of the moon is the same size as the sun? And at a lunar eclipse, the shadow of the earth is the same size as the moon? The only answer that I have come up with is that it is one of the mysteries of the universe. An eclipse occurs when the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic, which is the Earth's orbital path around the sun. The intersecting points of these two orbital paths are the lunar nodes. As a point of reference, it is necessary to state that each of the planets also has a pair of nodes where its orbit intersects the ecliptic. So it's important to designate the lunar nodes, not just the nodes. A lunar eclipse can only occur when the full moon is within 11 degrees 38 minutes of a lunar node. Eclipses occur in 18-year Saros cycles. The Saros is a harmonic between three of the moon's orbital cycles: the synodic month, the perigee to perigee, its closest point to Earth, and node to node. New moons and full moons are initiations and points of manifestation. Eclipses are breakdown or breakthrough lunations. When the new moon is full or near the lunar nodes, the emotional intensity of the lunation is amplified in our emotional body, which correlates directly to the moon. Eclipses are powerful events because the lunar nodes are our karmic evolutionary trajectory from past to future experienced in the present. As spiritual beings having a human experience, we learn through direct emotional knowledge. Eclipses are pressure valves that release unresolved energies, generating crises that catalyze awareness and personal growth. Excuse me. On May 16th, 2022, the full moon occurs at 25 degrees Scorpio, 17 minutes as a total lunar eclipse. This eclipse belongs to Saros cycle 131. Its totality will be visible across the Americas, Europe, and Africa. The last eclipse in this series occurred in May 2004. The eclipse will last for 85.5 minutes and will be at maximum on May 15th at 9:14 in Los Angeles, 10:14 in Phoenix, and then on May 16th at 12:14 a.m. in New York, 5:14 a.m. in London, 6:14 a.m. in Paris, 1:14 p.m. in Sydney, and 1:14 p.m. also in Tokyo, and 6:14 p.m. in Honolulu. On May 16th, the full moon, on the May 16th full moon, all of the planets, with the exception of the moon, Ceres, and Hygeia, are within 155 degrees, sandwiched between the final degrees of Capricorn and the first degrees of Gemini. There are stelliums in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. The energies are focused on our inner world and our instinctive relationship with ourselves. We are currently witnessing the exposure of collective shadows populated with xenophobia, misogyny, racism, patriarchy, and even those who feel that they have a God-given right to dictate or even sanction morality by decree. When we view these events objectively, we realize that this is a healing crisis, and we are sweating out and regurgitating the social toxins of our society. Lord of Time Saturn, safely lodged in his traditional home of Aquarius, is in crisis mode, squaring the lunar nodes as he was at the Taurus solar eclipse. This condition is called a skipped step. Something from the past has been ignored, denied, or placed on back burner. Saturn aligns with asteroid Vesta, embracing the sacred commitment to self and a personal, often idiosyncratic authenticity, so widely evident in the world's behavior around us. Ignited by Vesta's sacred fire, Saturn struggles to authenticate the past while reinventing the future. Our common prayer is for freedom, independence, and universality. We can become the observer. The Lord of Time upends circumstances that have crystallized and hardened. The lesson of our Time Lord's square to the lunar nodes is that we must take responsibility for both the past and the future. It is about recognizing our mistakes, where we have dropped the ball and failed in our responsibility. It is also about taking responsibility for how the future is unfolding. An aura of mysticism shrouds the eclipse. Something ephemeral and intangible stretches out to meet us as the moon trines self-absorbed Mars and Neptune in Pisces. We are plagued with a longing for what is ethereal, elusive, and something that is only known intuitively. Boundaries are crossed, and people and circumstances disappear into the abyss. A world has gone away and is not coming back. A new world emerges through labor pains. As the ruler of the sign of Taurus, Venus, the goddess of love, is also the current ruler of the lunar north node. Venus formats our individual and collective values and priorities into our intentions for the future. Venus and Mars met up twice this year. The first conjunction occurred in structural Capricorn, and then again when Venus was in a retrograde cycle in disruptive Aquarius. Retrogrades are an intensification and amplification of the archetype. When the lunar nodes moved into Taurus and Scorpio in January of this year, Venus was retrograde as well, presenting circumstances that compel a revisit and a re-examination of our current values and priorities, which we hand off to Mars to act upon as our conscious choices. These archetypal dynamics are generating a plethora of relationship resets. Some relationships have addressed unresolved issues. Others have dissolved. Because the lunar north node was in a retrograde condition at the onset of the nodal transit, the entire transit will hold that retrograde archetype. The eclipse exposes where self-reliance has faltered and how we are emotionally crystallized. Emotional chasms open, realizing what we thought was dead and buried. Chthonic Pluto, also retrograde, the ruler of this full moon and the lunar south node, retraces his steps, amping up the eclipse's power and potential for transformation. Events take a step back, increasing the tensions that will eventually spring forward with greater force. Monumental issues swirl around collective beliefs. The sacred fire flickers, but does not go out. The decibel level of inner knowing amps up. Justice will be served, but right now it looks just like leftovers. The future is driving the present. The past keeps getting in the way. Sky god Uranus anchors 15 degrees of Taurus, the most difficult sticking point of the zodiac. The 15-degree point of each fixed sign is challenging as primal energy initiates elemental changes. This transition point is challenging in all the signs, but it is most resistant in Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. The archetype must now begin to transmute from fire to earth, earth to air, or air to water. The Epimethean expression of Uranus wants things to change back by going back to the way they used to be, living life in the rearview mirror. We are always moving forward, even when it seems we are standing still or we seem to be moving backward. As Uranus completes his journey through Venus's realm of self-reliance, self-containment, self-sustenance, and self-love, the Uranian process will continue to interrupt and awaken us with disruptions to normalcy and realizations of what is truly essential. Jupiter is reinitiated in Aries, ruled by Mars, the Greek god of war. only a week before the eclipse. As Jupiter burns his way with Aries fire, the pace quickens, evoking imagery of the Eight of Wands from the Tarot, swiftly moving, highly energized rods of self-actualization fly through the air. The self-actualizing energy propels us forward, fanning our sacred inner fire. Mental crosswinds from Saturn and a magnetic pull from the Earth harness the outburst of primal energy. Warrior goddess of strife Eris throws hot coals into the molten emotional streambed, campaigning for justice. Eris has been in the sign of Aries since 1927. Unless you were born before that date, everyone on the planet has Eris in Aries. Over the next year or so, everyone on the Earth will experience Jupiter on their natal Eris. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Eris will be activated in your natal chart by house and aspects to other planets. At the total lunar eclipse, the karmic dynamics of the lunar nodes are fully locked and loaded, fully engaged with most of the inner and outer planets, illuminated by the sun and moon, encouraged by Mars and Jupiter, adjusted by Saturn and Uranus, and in some way psychically released by Neptune. A week before the eclipse, the same day that Jupiter entered Aries, Mercury in Gemini seemed to stand still in the sky, known as a station retrograde. Mercury is a psychopomp, a guide of souls into the underworld. The courier god was the only deity capable of entering and leaving Hades without harm. We all have Mercury somewhere in our natal chart. Mercury's sign and house and aspects to other planets point and outline the skills each of us has to go down into our subconscious, our underworld, and reintegrate what has been compartmentalized and fragmented because it carries the imprint of wounding, trauma, or defeat. Scorpio is the underworld. Allow your inner psychopomp to navigate the chthonic regions. Have your payment ready. The ferryman of the river Styx makes no change. Do you know where your psychopomp is? Here are my horoscopes by sign for this eclipse. Please read them silently to yourself for the best intuitive understanding. This is how you can reach me. I do consultations, readings that help you find your purpose and feel your passion. And I do astrological weather reports regularly, just like this one, on YouTube, on my website, and through my email blog, my MailChimp. You can sign up for any of those things on my website. You can reach me at daniel@4evolutionaryastrology.com. My number is 505-930-2748. I would love to hear from you and get your feedback about whether these forecasts are working for you. Are they useful? Is there something more you would like to learn from them? Or is there something that's too much information, perhaps, that I could cut out? Your feedback's important to me because these forecasts are for you and about you. Namaste. Be curious, be truthful, be kind. Thank you.